Hello everyone. Trust you all are safe and doing great. I thank you all for enrolling yourself for this event. We are back with a new session on EIE Fresh Talk, presented by Excellent Excel, a company which started since 2010 as an edutech firm and over time expanded into data analytics. We strongly believe that for a world driven by data, information is power and excellence is a brand. Our core services are into analytics, consulting, and training. Let me give a small gist of what is EiEFreshTalk. It is a platform where we are hosting great leaders and experts from various fields to speak regularly on a variety of topics, ranging from finance and analytics. Let's have a look at our past few Fresh Talks. Speakers like CAV Patabi Ram, CAMP Vijay Kumaso, Mr. Chandu, Daniel Steen Farist, CA Premlata Daga, and so on, were our earlier speakers. Our topic for this session is Design Your Professional Services Business for Acceleration by CA Amit P. Nahar, who is a qualified chartered accountant, a master of financial management, and a certified management consultant. He is internationally recognized by authorities in over 58 countries and works closely with entrepreneurs and business owners. He loves empowering entrepreneurs and managements of numerous global enterprises to design, automate, and accelerate their businesses. He is leading multi-award winning business design coach and a management consultant who has pioneered the art of designing, automating, and accelerating businesses. He has a track record of systematically scaling and growing organizations through a unique combination of coaching, consulting, and mentoring methodologies. His mission is to empower 1 lakh business owners and entrepreneurs to design, automate, and accelerate their businesses. Our today's expert speaker, C. Amit P. Nahar, will help us learn how to design your professional services business for acceleration. Participants, please welcome our speaker for today's session. Please write hi in the chat box and welcome our expert speaker, CA Amit P. Nahar. Before I hand over the session to Mr. Amit, I request all the audience you can type your questions or comments on the chat area. There will be dedicated time for the presenter to answer your questions. Avoid downloading or watch any other videos during the session to make sure smooth internet connection. Thank you. Mr. Amit, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Neha, and welcome to all the participants. Thank you for the kind introduction, a generous introduction, I must say. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be able to, amongst all my professional brothers, sisters, service providers, ladies and gentlemen, let me share my screen. Have you ever wondered as to why is it that your customers continue to buy from you despite the fact that there are many other competitors out there in the market? Have you ever wondered, as a professional services business provider, in terms of why are there multinational companies, firms, corporates on one hand with hundreds of partners and directors, while on the other hand, there is a whole stream of small and medium practitioners who, who find it very challenging to scale their businesses with even just few partners and directors on board, and they find it hard to scale their business. Have you ever wondered as to why is it that the small and medium practitioners are unable to create a brand for themselves and their customers continue to rely on them as individuals rather than a company and depend on them as individuals than their teams? Have you ever wondered as to why? To address these concerns and questions and more, This webinar is about designing your professional practices business for acceleration. So to look at what is a professional services business by default, if you are running a professional services business and your targets are getting missed, margins are taking a hit, every customer is a toll. When you start off with your professional practice, you're very high on enthusiasm. You're able to handle your customers with ease. And as the customers grow and as you start recruiting people and start managing people, you start finding customers as a toll. Temptations to create, you usually have temptations to create new business lines. You're constantly looking at what new, what more can I do in terms of the same line of business. You're looking at multidisciplinary stream of activities. You're getting distracted from your core focus. Everyone is busy in your organization. Things seem chaotic. Lots of busy work all around. New hires, new recruits do not seem to be aligned. The long timers who've been there with you start complaining that the company is not the same as it used to be. The founders are stressed with the day-to-day happenings. If you have any of these symptoms of you or you undergo any of these systems, then perhaps chances are that your professional services business may be in default and needs a design. So the business by design system is a system where you're more progressive by designing your business, you become more productive by automating your business, and most profitable by accelerating your business. Now, in today's session, we're going to be looking at some of the disempowering myths of running a professional services business. We will look at key design principles and strategies for magnification, and we will begin to look at the acceleration blueprint. So, on broad perspective, the global professional services market is growing at a astounding CAGR of 9.5%, nearly 8,000 billion. It is going to grow to 8,000 billions by 2022. Currently, it is around 6,000 billion. North America is the largest market for professional services, accounting for about 33.4% of the global market, followed by Western Europe, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa. Let's look at some of the characteristics of professional services. Now, the services that we are rendering are very different from products. The strategies, the methodologies, the systems, tools, and tactics are very different when it comes to a products business because the services that we are offering are intangible. Today, when a customer decides to buy from you or purchase your services, he is in fact buying an intangible a promise of assurance, a promise that you will deliver on the services that you're committing to. So the characteristics of a professional services is that it is intangible. It's not as easy as a product. It is inseparable. What do I mean by inseparable? Like in the case of products, it cannot be separated into production and consumption. You cannot store a service for production till the consumption. Ideally, both things happen at the same time. Now, it is inventory-less. You cannot store services. You cannot store services, and gives it the essential characteristics. It is inconsistent. What do I mean by that? Now, two different services are not exactly consistent as it is in the case of products, as in the case of a manufacturing assembly line where you would have perhaps identical products coming out. However, in the case of services, it is customized to the need of the service recipient. It is customized. It is inconsistent, not the same every single time. It needs involvement. For example, today, if a lawyer has to offer his services and if he's asking questions, then without seeking answers to those questions or without the involvement of the service recipient, he cannot render his professional services. So it requires the involvement of the service recipient as well. It is illimitable. It is free, it can flow freely across boundaries beyond what a product can do. Today, service professionals, even during this lockdown, even during this pandemic, are able to render quality services across international borders with seamlessly without any barriers. So if you look at the professional services organization, and this was a study conducted by market research by Drew Whitehurst, 44% of organizations report feeling the pressure of competition. 37% struggle with managing the client's expectations. 31% feel that they have limited access to the required skills. Now, how many of you relate to this? Now, the brain is a wonderful organization. It starts working the moment you get up in the morning and does not stop until you get into the office. We are so cluttered with the operations, with the service delivery or meeting the commitment to our clients part of it, that we hardly find time to focus on the sales or the growth or the business side of it. By clearing a professional examination can equip with the necessary skills required to thrive in business. Now, the moment I qualified, I thought I had the right to succeed. I thought I had the right to be successful, to be abundant in my profession as a business coach or as a management consultant. Till a point in time that I realized that it was a disempowering myth, because there are many skills beyond just the professional qualification, be it in terms of task management, be it in terms of time management, people management, in terms of sales, marketing, and we will look at many of those as we go along. So there are many different skills that one needs to hone to be able to build a system, to be able to build a business that can really, really grow without them or beyond them, or the business part of it, for it to be a business and not just an individual who's running the business or service. Let's look at the other myth. The price you charge is based on a cost plus margin analysis. How many of us in our professional services, we have an account of the mandate cost in terms of the cost that we incur, and the moment we are supposed to send a proposal to our client, all we do is go back to our Excel sheets and understand what is our cost, we add a margin to it, and then propose. Or many a time we look at perhaps what is even beyond that. If we look at what is the competition, and if a competition is pricing an X amount, we continue to do that, and this is how the most of the proposals are sent to our clients. I want you to look back in terms of how disempowering perhaps that could be for the business, because ultimately it is the value that should decide the price and not a cost plus margin analysis. It is something that a business owner needs to be aware of, but not the bottom line of pricing. Unless a service provider begins to sell based on the value that he creates to the recipient, or the ultimate objective of a service provider, according to me, is to create immense value. And the fee charge is just a measure of that value that is being created for a client, and not perhaps a cost plus margin analysis. Now, many of us perhaps feel very happy, or this is exactly how we feel when the customer agrees to pay the full price. On a lighter note, another myth is you have to be a multidisciplinary to leverage uncertainty. During the course of 15 years, we work with hundreds of business owners and service providers, a lot of them being doctors, lawyers, architects. And the moment they pass out of their professional examination, there is an urge to get into a multidisciplinary practice. They're always looking at what new, what else is out there. They just get settled with a line of practice, and the moment they get settled, they move on or migrate into certain other areas of practice. And they're constantly shouting, even after 10 years, 20 years of practice, in terms of what new, what else can I do to make it going. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest source of stress, indecision, fear, doubt in professional services business that we've witnessed across board is because of this one myth, or the urge of being an expert at multiple things, being a multidisciplinary at multiple things. It is very, very important to understand your niche, your purpose, in terms of what you're good at, what you love doing, what is the demand in the market, and what your customers can pay for. The beautiful intersection of all of this leads to your niche, and that is the niche which will take away all these stresses. And why do I say that? Because as you get practicing in your niche, as you become a somebody who's turning expertise in your area of work or your area of practice, as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into it, the more it will ease you in terms of practice. It will give you the authority in whatever you're doing. So if you are a business owner who is still not decided about what is going to be the line of practice or what is going to be the line of area that you wish to take your life ahead with, I urge you to get into models to find your niche, be it the ikigai or any other model for that matter. But it is very, very important. The scale or the sustainability would start when you start becoming an expert at your niche, something that you love. To put it in simple terms, something that you love doing, irrespective of the time, irrespective of perhaps the day or night or any hour of the day, and even if you're tired, all day, you still are ready to get into it, dive in. So it's very, very important to become an expert at your niche. So I invite you to go ahead and start making that decision, start taking that decision in terms of what you need to do, what you need to specialize in, because that will definitely seed the growth that you're looking at. So this is not something that you should do. And if you've not selected your niche or an expert area of your practice, any day an expert surgeon will be paid a lot more than a general physician. We all know that, but despite knowing that, we are unable to make that decision. So it's very, very important to first start off with that, because multidisciplinary is a myth. It's definitely a myth. So long-term client satisfaction. Let's look at the next myth. Long-term client satisfaction is more important than short-term. How many of you agree with that? It is very, very important to make sure that your promises, your commitments are kept in the short term, because every short term commitment, as you keep building the short term commitment, it makes sure that your client is your client for the long term. So, short term, meeting your short term commitments with your clients are a lot more important, because they are the ones which lead to a long-term commitment for us. I find many service professionals who maybe have just a long-term idea with the client, however, ignore on the different touch points with their clients on a day-to-day basis. Now, every day, either yourself or your team is having multiple touch points with your client. The question is, are you aware of those touch points? Are you ensuring client satisfaction in every single touch point, right from the calls that they make to the client, to your team's response to them, to taking client feedback, to having a constant client feedback loop? Every touch point of the client, today, this moment, every single moment, your client touch point, we are in an intangible business where your services are not tangible. They cannot be touched, felt. So it is very, very important to keep up our commitments in every short-term client touch point, to make sure that your clients are clients for the long term. And as we know, it is very, very easy to build wealth with your existing customers, to make sure that your existing customer or your repeat customers contribute the maximum to the bottom line. So whenever I'm going to be talking about building that scalable business or building that kind of massive business, professional services business, I always believe that if you are a service provider who is working with integrity, who believes that to fulfill your commitment, to fulfill your promise to your clients and your customers is at the core of your value system. If you are somebody who works with a lot of honesty and integrity, keeping the clients, the value that you add to your clients as the first and the foremost mission of your services that you're rendering, then you deserve to succeed, you deserve to scale, you deserve to take your professional services business to an ultimate level, because that would only mean that you are somebody who is creating that value in the whole ecosystem, in your clients, in the industry, for the country, for the planet at large, and for the universe. Because if you believe as core of your values, to have that integrity, to have that commitment, to keep your promises to your client, to create that massive value, then you deserve to have a long-term client satisfaction, and that will come by taking care of your client's touch point in every single short Most professionals do not market or solicit clients. That is a myth because despite the fact that many professional bodies have a restriction in terms of soliciting clients, however, the ultimate objective is adding value. And there are multiple different platforms where you can continue to add immense value. Services business is a unique business which, because of its intangible nature, it's very hard to show your work. And as a service professional, the client, because he cannot see your work, it becomes very hard for your clients to patronize with your business or your services. So there are many successful service professionals who choose multiple different platforms to showcase or add value to their prospects, to their target audience through multiple different forums, through multiple different mediums. And we will look at that as we go forward in terms of how you can create that value chain for your customers. And as you create those, you can constantly get the opportunity to add value to a lot more clients. Ultimately, the way I look at it is that if you have the opportunity, if you have those core values, then you deserve more than anybody else to add that value. It is your moral responsibility to add that value, and you should do everything that there is to add that value to your customers. And you would see, as a byproduct, your businesses become stronger and stronger for you to give you the tools and the access. The moment you start becoming or experiencing the value chain in terms of you adding that value and building your team, building your customers, building those technologies, building those resources, building those those proprietary elements in your businesses, those technologies, it will only give you more tools, more access, more power to be able to add value. So, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely the moral responsibility of every service professional to constantly add value. So, there are multiple ways that you can do this, and every successful entrepreneur does it. And we will look at that. So, I want you to stick through to this session because, in the end, I'm going to be sharing with you bonus strategies, two bonus strategies of highly successful professional service providers. So do stick to till the end to have an access to those bonus strategies. Another myth is mistakes by team members are to be avoided at all costs or under any circumstances. Now, let me tell you that the way mistakes are handled in many service professionals' offices that we've seen is there is usually a fear around making mistakes. There is an environment which is created that making mistakes are bad. Making mistakes are something that you need to avoid under all costs. So there is usually a huge stigma, a huge fear that's associated around making mistakes. Let me share with you our experience of having worked with some successful enterprises here where they have a budget called as a failure budget. How many of you agree that with innovation, with being creative, with the transformation that you wish to create, with going beyond your comfort zones, mistakes are natural. Mistakes are bound to happen. And if there is a fear that is associated around mistakes, my question to you is what would happen to the whole effect of innovativeness, to the whole effect of being creative, to the whole effect of being going beyond your comfort zones and trying something new? If you are going to do all of that, mistakes are bound to happen. And in those corporates who have a failure budget where their teams are allowed to make different mistakes every single time because they have understood or realized that making mistakes is just a step to that abundance, to that scale, and to that growth. I invite you to change your perspective, to change your dimension as to how you look at mistakes and encourage. One of the principles that we have in our offices to make mistakes, to fail fast and fail differently every single time. To continue to make mistakes, but make different mistakes every single time, right? And training plays a very vital role in building this. So mistakes, I would invite you to take away all the fear around mistakes and encourage your team to do innovative things, to come up with ideas, to be transformative, to go beyond their comfort zones or the framework that you have given them, to go beyond all that and encourage them to make different mistakes every single time. Because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that will be a path or a road to growth. Because without that, you will be shunning away all the creativity, productivity, the enhanced productivity that perhaps could be nourished in your organization. Let's look at the next myth, that technology is an evolutionary change. I still find many professionals, especially senior professionals, who think that yes, technology is important. However, they are slow in adopting with technology. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, technology is no longer an evolutionary change, it is a revolutionary change. It is very, very important to adapt technology in every aspect of your practice, be it in terms of time management, be it in terms of task management, people management, systems management, sales and marketing. So technology today, you would find that majority of service professionals, because of their lag in adopting technologies, are unable to as much as they would love to, because they continue to do repetitive tasks. They continue to get stuck in operations. They continue to not get a picture of how their organizations are performing, primarily because of lesser use of technology. So I want you all to embrace technology as much as possible, understand every different facet of your business, and see how you can automate. Because as much as you can automate, you will make sure that your involvement, your personal involvement into operations is taken out of it. You will become a lot more productive with a lot of technological tools and templates that are available out there, applications that are available out there. And once you improve your productivity, you will have a lot more time to focus on your business. You will have a lot more time to focus on your sales and marketing, and make sure that your business is growing again. With every business growth, you will get an opportunity to add that much extra value, to add that much value to the whole ecosystem. And it is with that intent that it is your responsibility and duty to adopt technology as much as possible, perhaps transform your entire practice into an automated system around you. Moving on, it is the service recipient's responsibility to communicate their expectations clearly. Now, if some of these myths are myths that you are not perhaps having, then you must have yourself, perhaps. Right? I've found many service professionals who, after they become professionals, they have this sense of, I don't want to use the word, but the sense of pride that, right, that the clients have to come to them. It is the clients whose responsibility it is to communicate their expectations clearly. Let me share with you, ladies and gentlemen, that over communication. This is one area where I want you to over communicate with your clients. Over communicate in understanding the expectations of your clients clearly. Many times, service professionals just accept random work without even understanding the expectations of their clients clearly. So it is very, very important to over communicate in this aspect. And I would say it's the service provider's responsibility to making sure that they are communicating, or they are communicated the expectations from their clients very, 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 very clearly. And this is the source of client satisfaction. This forms the root of every client satisfaction. Most of the time, clients are not satisfied with your services, or do not continue to patronize with your services, because they are not satisfied. Somewhere you have not understood their expectations clearly. So expectation management has to be right at the front, where you would over communicate with your clients and understand their expectations. Moving on to the next myth. If you render good services, customer referrals is the best form of marketing. And many, how many service professionals and service providing businesses that I've come across who are continuing to rely on customer referrals. No doubt, customer referrals are important and they have a much higher conversion rate. However, there are many forms of adding customers. There are many other forms, and adding customers must be a constant drive every single day, because with every customer that you are adding, and not just relying on the customer referrals or the natural referrals from your customers, there needs to be a constant drive in terms of adding customers to your whole sales journey, to your whole customer adding journey. Because if you do not do that, if you do not practice adding and keeping customers, which we will see as to how is the sole function of any business, because that will give you the opportunity. Every opportunity of adding and keeping customers gives you an opportunity to create that value with that integrity, sincerity, and commitment that you are rendering your professional services. And if you're doing that, you deserve to add that massive value and deserve to have that as part of your mission. And moving on to the next, communicating with every customer and ensuring their satisfaction is the prime duty. Communicating with every customer and ensuring their satisfaction is a prime duty or responsibility of a professional service provider. How many of you agree with that? How many of you agree with that? Let me show you the business owner's cycle to answer that question. As a business owner, communicating directly with your clients is something that should be a choice. It is a choice that you exercise and not a necessity. Your prime role or your prime objective is to communicate with your team, is to manage your team, is to manage your people, who in turn will manage your customers and who in turn will bring in the business, which will keep the businesses going. As I mentioned, that communicating with your customers should be a choice and not a necessity. Now, it was all going well, perhaps, till you were handling the customers. But the moment you started engaging people, I found that many service professionals do not learn the art of managing people. Because ultimately, if you are going to continuously sell your time in dealing with your customers and not build a system around it, customers will continue to be dependent on you for all their needs. And I found this across board, across professionals who continue to say that no, the customers, unless they talk to us, they would not buy. Unless they talk to us, they will not be satisfied with our services. Somewhere it all got deep seated with our lack of re-educating ourselves on the art of managing people. That for me is the sole skill required for a professional services business owner, the art of managing people, because that will give you the resources, that will give you the tools, that will give you the impetus to move to the next level of managing your professional services business than just managing your clients or your services as products. So it is very, very important to understand as to what are the 5 levels. So many of us treat ourselves as entrepreneurs, but I thought it fit to just bring this on in terms of what exactly, how does the whole journey start in terms of designing the whole thing, right? So we started off being a self-employed. After we passed out from our professional courses, we started our business, and essentially we were doing everything in our business, right? From sending the proposals to getting clients to making those calls to doing those meetings to servicing our clients to ensuring that the service delivery happens to making sure that we are taking the feedback from the client to again ensuring that the billing happens, the collection happens, and many service professionals are still in this stage of being a self-employed. Maybe you have some members as part of your team, but majority of your tasks are being done by you. Or majority of the functions in your business are still being handled by you. So the next stage is that of a manager, where you start employing people and becoming the manager, where, however, most owners at this stage, because now that you have a team, but still you keep chasing them for getting work done. You continue to chase them. Without your intervention, the service delivery does not happen. Without your intervention, the sales would not happen. Without your intervention, the collections don't happen. I know so many professionals who still have pending outstanding collections for months together, because without their involvement, and they think that they are the most fit to do that, they are never getting beyond that stage, which is the stage of a manager. where you're just stuck in firefighting, you're just stuck in your day-to-day operations and unable to manifest that scale, unable to own that business and still be free of it. The next is that of a business owner where you have set up, where you have designed systems and a team that does the work for you. The cash flow keeps coming in whether you get out of the bed or not. Now, that stage is what I call the business owner stage, where you have managers, where you have systems, where you have perhaps rely on technology to make sure that your service delivery happens. Perhaps you are involving yourself in some part of management, but that is by choice. It's not that the whole service delivery or the commitment cycles are failing. So that is the stage of a business owner. Next stage is that of an investor, where you can step out of the business and you would find a lot of senior professionals who have attained the stage where now they can start investing their money. No longer they no longer need to invest their money in the business. However, they can start investing elsewhere, and the business keeps generating a good amount of revenue for them. And that is the stage that I call that of the investor, where the businesses continue to run, but it does not require your money. You can continue, you can deploy your money, a lot of it in property, stocks, and business. The next stage is that of an entrepreneur, where it is not even your money that has been invested in the business, but you make use of money of your investors, make use of ideas of other people, and you continue to build your business. So it is no longer not even your money or your time. You are finally an entrepreneur and use other people's money in many cases, other people's ideas in all cases, and other people's talent and time. So that is the ultimate stage that all of us as professionals must aspire to become an entrepreneur. And to move from one stage to another, it requires a whole different understanding of the whole systems in terms of the efforts that are required, in terms of the tools, templates, strategies, that you need to deploy, the whole mindset. Now, moving from this stage, one stage to another stage, requires a completely different mindset altogether at different stages, which will different stages and requires a whole new maturity at different stages. Now, if you look at the design, and we've seen that most professionals have little time in terms of working on their business because they are stuck and there is little automation, they rely on technology less. They are unable to manifest that time for themselves to be able to working on business. Today, if I ask most professionals, one of their biggest concerns in working on their businesses or on their sole function of adding and keeping customers is that they do not find the time. So let's look at the importance of designing and automation, building, designing, and automation. And what are the areas around which you need to start working on to manifest? First one is time management. Now, unless you learn the art of managing your time, or unless you're learning the art of enhancing your productivity, you will not be able to deliver more during a given amount of day. So building, designing, and automation in the time management or enhancing your productivity is very, very critical. The next is that of task management. Today, if I have to ask you that how many of you are aware as to where each task in your organization is, at what stages the different tasks are in your organization? Do you have a bird's eye view of all that is happening? Do you, with the task management, are you able to understand as to who's performing, who's not performing, who's being productive, who's not being productive? Do you have a complete control over due dates, deadlines? Do you have an automated system of task management? Just imagine if you do not have those, you will continue to be in that doubt, fear of deadlines. Most fears of deadlines or most fears are due to the fact that we do not have or we have not designed our task management. We are not sure of how our tasks are moving in our own organizations, which will again and again make you to interfere, which will again and again make you to continue to have that fear. And that fear is so detrimental because it will never allow you to work on your business, scaling your business. So, very critical to build design and automation in task management, systems management. There are multiple different functions, and every function, your process, the order with which it is going to be executed. Do you have a complete automation in building your systems? Is everything documented? Are you able to today, at the end of the day, find out or know as to who's performed and who's not performed? Building your entire set of KRAs and KPIs for you to understand. Now, it is no, it sounds like jargon, KRAs and KPIs. But at the end of the day, if you understand what these are nothing but there is a scorecard or there is this whole system whereby you will know at the end of the day. Now, if you have to manage only a handful of team members, you can continue to do that. However, your business will continue to be at a scale which is not as your liking in terms of your missions does not align with your mission. It is primarily because now at the end of the day, if I do not know as to who's performed in my team and who's not, and if there's a clear, and I wouldn't have the entire time to be able to monitor that for every individual. And as we are scaling, because we do not have a system to know in terms of or systems in terms of understanding of the work performed by different people in our team, we will never be able to scale because then you cannot add team members and you will not be able to arbitrage on the talent that you are owning inside your enterprise. You will not be able to bring that scale or get that scale. So there's a whole variety of systems that you need to work on in terms of automating and accelerating your business. People management skills. Now, as we have seen that managing people is a skill that if learned, can make sure that your customers and your business has a scalable future going forward. So if you can learn just this one skill of managing people, irrespective of your domain knowledge, I'm not taking away your domain expertise or your functional expertise here. However, if you just learn this art, and in the history there are umpteen number of examples that I can quote or give you, right from Henry Ford to all the successful to all the successful owners, that if you can learn the art of managing people, or if you can build automation and design your people management, you will be able to have a continuous flow of customers who will constantly be happy because you're managing your people well, who will in turn take care of your customers, and the whole system will scale your professional services business to a degree that people love. Financial management, again, in terms of ensuring
Amit
that
bhai,
you
can you be
have
little
things.
louder? Amit bhai, can you be little louder? Mic.
Is it audible now? Is
Yeah,
it better
audible.
now?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. So, in terms of financial systems, right? So, we do our profitability at whatever periodicity that you wish to. However, going beyond, going in depth of understanding the different parameters of your profitability, your cash flows, understanding that you have client-wise profitability, you have product service levels wise profitability, you have team member wise profitability, and your whole financial system of your inflows and your outflows. And there needs to be an entire design and automation built around that, where you know who are the clients that you wish to continue with. Many a times, one of the best decisions is to do away with some clients. Hard that it sounds, but many a times these are good decisions because you might have committed yourself into certain projects that is taking away a lot of your time, but is not giving you the required amount of margins for you to again thrive. Now, again, please understand the reason why I say that you need to do business at a good amount of margin is because when you have that margin, you can in turn invest those margins in terms of adding more value to your prospects, in terms of adding more to your prospects, in terms of doing more, in terms of creating that extra value, in terms of building that skill, investing in technology. Everything costs. So it's very, very important to have an entire system of financial management, customer management. Ultimately, it is your customers who are your strength. And having an ongoing loop of customer feedback, your customer management from every touch point, as I mentioned earlier. Now, you need to go back and map the entire touch point of your customer, right from the first time your customer gets in touch with you till the point of taking feedback from your customer. The entire touch points have to be mapped, and it is your endeavor to start with to build a system where you are able to enhance the experience of our customers at different touch points. We've seen the characteristics. We are dealing with something intangible, something that's not visible, but what the customers are responded with. What is the feedback? What is the kind of vibe that your customer gets when he talks to your team? Every touch point needs to be enhanced, designed, and automated. Again, innovation management. very, very critical that many of us are stuck at a level where we are competing with services which empty others are offering. We fail to create that value proposition. If you're rendering a service which everybody else is rendering, then there is no value proposition. You will continue to, to beat around the red ocean. They call it the red ocean and the blue ocean. Red ocean is where there's intense competition that you create for yourself because you fear innovating, you fear that creativity, you fear that going beyond the comfort zone. Even if you're rendering something which is as simple, say filing a GST return or just sending a notice to a client, what is the value addition that you are giving which makes your services very different, very in terms of a value, in terms of a perceived value that your clients are getting from your offering? How are you innovating at every step in your business in terms of creating that value, not just for your customers, but also for your people? So very important to take a day off. And I recommend this to all service professionals that in a week, you must take a day off. If not a day, at least half a day in terms of utilizing that day to just strategize, to just think through. Keep it as part of a thought day or a think day or an ideas day where you're just sitting through. And it is not worth the time that you spend on every other day if you are not able to get this time for yourself to work on your business. And I want every service professional, if they can do that, keep one day off and just strategize on that day. Make sure that you're making plans for the entire week in terms of what you're going to implement, innovate, think through, be creative, because we are giving very little time to work on our business. And we need to learn the art of managing the businesses in a way where we are able to start with get that one day, and as we proceed, we will be able to make that one day into 2 days, and finally take ourselves from being just a self-employed to moving on to an investor and an entrepreneur. And again, management by delegation and not by abdication. Many a times we've found that service professionals would hire people, say somebody at a senior level, a manager, and then they would just surrender all the work and they would not have systems around delegation. They would just go by application. And thereafter, that's it. Once somebody, a manager or a senior says you add a partner who's as an employee on the firm's roles, and you would just like to leave things on them. You would just surrender and you would just not be a part of that agenda or that exercise and just leave it up to them. Like we've come across several managers in many professional services organizations where there are managers and that's it. I mean the business owners or the partners or the directors thereafter don't even look into what's happening in those areas. How are they dealing with their customers? How are the customers actually happy with your managers? Are the customers actually happy with your senior employees in your organization? So it's very, very important to not to manage by application and manage by delegation. Managing by delegation requires you to have a whole system. You continue to take customer feedback. You continue to have a system where you're able to randomly monitor how your managers, how your partners are who are employees are speaking with your customers, the kind of mails that are being sent on a macro level. You choose to do that, but there are systems that are built that can give you the deviation reporting. You have people, perhaps your assistants, who are constantly on quality monitoring where they would monitor in terms of getting feedbacks, in terms of getting as to ensuring that the services are impeccable. If you're a service professional and if you're making promises, then it is your duty to render impeccable services and create that value in the whole ecosystem. So it is very, very important for us to keep building our skills, keep designing, and keep automating in different areas, which will help us to ultimately scale our businesses to newer heights. Now, why is it that many of our systems don't work? Why is it that we set all those systems? Yes, we're aware that we need to set our systems and we are setting our systems, but despite the fact that we set our systems, many a times our systems do not work. We perhaps have started forming an SOP, we have a manual, and we let our people know about the systems, and still it does not work. Why? Why? Why is it that our systems don't work? Now, majority of the times, if you look at the the way we create our systems is we create them, we roll them out. But the mistake that we commit is we keep our systems verbal. We keep our systems verbal. This is by far the biggest reason why our systems don't work. Form the system, however, you continue to ask your managers what happened, did you follow, everything verbal. Many a times the systems itself are verbal. Before due date, 10 days before the due date, this mail has to go verbal, no system. Even if we have a system, our monitoring becomes very, very verbal. Again, the follow-ups become verbal. So this is the biggest mistake. Anything that is verbal will not work. Will not work. Peter Drucker said it the best. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. Thank you for staying on so far, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to stick on till the end. I'm going to give away 2 bonus strategies for people who are sticking on till the end, for taking that action, for spending time with us today. So thank you for doing that so far. So migrate everything that is verbal in terms of documentation, in terms of all that we're seeing that needs to be done. Everything needs to be documented. Verbal systems against are against the science of doing business, ladies and gentlemen. So, as a thumb rule, make sure that all that is there in your organization, everything is documented, everything is in writing, nothing is left to a verbal discretion. They say discretion. Theodore Levitt, in his book, The Marketing Growth, said it the best that discretion is the enemy of order. Discretion is the enemy of order and quality and systems. So if you are leaving things to the discretion with your oral verbal communication, you will not be able to ensure that your systems are running and they are running even when you are not around. So if you have to take something from this webinar, I want you to make sure that henceforth you will not do anything that's verbal. You will not set any system that's verbal. And if you can just take this one thing back, I don't want you to take so many things. Of course, you're most welcome to do that. But many times what happens is we attend sessions and we fail to implement them, or we fail to implement everything that we wish to. We make a lot of notes. We take down a lot of notes. However, how many of us actually have gone back and looked at those notes? If you are making notes right now, I want you to make a note of things that you will go back and immediately implement right after this webinar, right after this session. Because if you take there's enough science to show that if you are delaying your implementation and every result, if I may say so, every result will come only by implementation. Knowledge is just potential power. Implementation makes it the power that it deserves. So the whole results, even this webinar will not work unless you go back and implement. You will just feel good that yes, I've heard something, these things were useful, and yes, now that we understand, and you just feel good about it. However, the rate of growth in your business, or the scale at which you will grow, or your business today is nothing but a consequence of the knowledge that you've gained and its implementation. So if you are going to go back without implementation, this session will not work. Let me be very, very clear and open about it. But the degree of implementation, or the degree of implementation, or the success, or the results that you will produce is equal to the degree of your implementation. So if you have to take something back, make sure that none of the entire system implementation stages, none of it is verbal. Everything is going to be in documentation, in writing, in some legible form. What is the biggest problem in, again, creating a system is that you create it. Why do I say that? That the biggest problem in creating a system is that you create it. That's confusing. Some of you may think that, what am I trying to say here? That what do I mean that I creating a system is the biggest problem? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, every system needs to be co-created. co-created. It needs to be co-created with your team, because when they are a part of the system, in creating the system, they will make sure that it's implemented. Many of our systems do not work because we create them and we dump them on our people, and they never own those systems. So even if you're the one who has the guidance from or create systems, please co-create them with your team, with your subordinates, with your partners, with your stakeholders. Every system, and I want you to just get this in terms of every system that you're going to create henceforth, that you need to make sure that every system that you're creating, be it in terms of leave policies, be it in terms of your attendance systems, your entire time management, task management systems, or your customer management system, your people management system, co-created, co-created, co-created. Let them be a part of it. Let them be creating it, because as a creator, you never destroy. Do you ever destroy things that you created? You don't do that. So it's very, very important to co-create your systems with your people. Now let's look at 3 routines for operational excellence. How do you get? How many of you are interested to know 3 routines? Just 3 routines for operational excellence. Right? You just follow these 3 routines and your operational excellence is taken care of. How many of you are interested in knowing that? Right? Beautiful. I thank you for staying so far. Do wait for the bonus strategies, which will be at the end of the session. So the first thing is, do only what you can do. Do only at what you can do. Now, many a times in our operations or sales or marketing, we tend to do a lot of repetitive things. How many of you during the course of last week did a lot of things that you always do? Say in terms of billing, I still find many professionals who would sit, they'll have a slot and they will complete all their billing again and again and again and again and again. They are part of an operational execution and they would be the part of it again and again and again and again. So if you are wanting to take your professional's practice, which may be an individual practice at this point in time, and scale it up to make it a business practice, to work on your business, and to make sure that you're able to create multiple such businesses, multiple such offerings, multiple such, you need to start looking at your business as a franchise itself. As a franchise itself. You need to start looking at, if you can give this business to somebody, can it still continue? You need to start looking at your services business in that perspective, that today if you're just giving this business to, say, maybe another person who's interested, or anybody for that matter, say after you, even if it is your better half or your children or your family who wish to take over that business, for some of you it may be a shock that how is it possible? I'm the professional, I'm running the show. Let me tell you that if that is something that which is holding you back, your business, you will never be able to scale it to multiple businesses. And I say this with a lot of humility, because I have seen so many professionals who are so good but are unable to scale, primarily because they look at their business, they look at their all the time focused on their products and services, and they're all the time busy with dealing with their customers. And despite the fact that they're so good, but they do not learn the different areas of design and automation, and they do multiple things. As a business owner, you are supposed to do only what you can do and delegate the rest. Learn the science of delegation and delegate the rest. Delegate the rest. So if there's something that only you can do in your organization right now, start making systems around where, if it is repetitive, if it is something that you're constantly doing again and again and again and again, make sure you're building systems to delegate it. Because you've done it once, you know how it is done. You can build all the systems to delegate it. You can build everything around to delegate it. Now, let me tell you, as something as simple as recording your work. As you're working on a particular task, all you have to do is just record your work. Today there are many tools that are available online. that are free. Say you just download, right now we're on the Zoom platform, just download Zoom, record your own self while sharing your screen, and keep building your training archives. Keep building your training archives. If you are talking to your customer, record that call and make it a part of your training program, where make it a part of a mandatory training program where any new entrant or anybody who joins your organization has access to these videos. And it takes nothing, ladies and gentlemen. It takes nothing for you to be able to do that. Remember, you will do things only that you can do. That is in terms of growing, in terms of strategy, in terms of innovating, in terms of strategizing, building, leveraging with collaborations. So those are things that you need to be focusing on. Building the enterprise value of your business. So those are the things that you need to be focusing upon, and just delegate. Learn the art of delegating the rest. And number three is repeat the process. Just repeat the process. Do only what you can do and delegate the rest. And keep doing that. Keep building things that when you are doing any repetitive task, you will make sure that you're delegating the rest and keep repeating the process. And one by one by one by one, all the repetitive tasks will be off you. Everything will be off you, and you will continue to do only what you can do, which is to grow and build your business. Again, every opportunity of growing your business gives you that power to be able to create that value in the ecosystem. You, as a business owner, I'm not tired of re-emphasizing this fact that if you have a value system which is deep rooted in creating value for your customers, when you believe that meeting your commitment or making sure that you stand good on your commitment is of ultimate importance to you, and you are somebody who's empathetical with the value that you're creating for your customers, and you see that your growth is in the growth of the value that you create in the ecosystem, you deserve to generate that abundance. You deserve to take that path of growing and scaling and magnifying your business. So very important, some critical how-to's mission for acceleration. And this is a science which is an in-depth science, and we do this across a day's program, and we also do this in our 3-day program where we go in depth into it. But I'm giving you a blueprint around it in terms of you need to learn the art or the design or the science of designing a professional services business which accelerates beyond you. So it is not just about you, your individual self, your client dealing with you all the time, you servicing your client all the time, you communicating with your clients all the time. You need to design that it goes beyond just the you. You need to shift from working on services to working on your business part of it. Things that only you can do, and delegate the rest. You need to start attracting and managing and engaged. Very, very important to have engaged people. There's enough science which says that there are multiple varieties of people in your organization, right from engaged to disengaged to actively disengaged. And the people who are disengaged cost you a lot of your wealth, cost you a lot of your money, lot of your cost, and they are the real cost for the organization. So you need to learn the art of moving your people from disengaged to being engaged, and attracting and managing, engaging, and constantly have a system of making them competent at optimal cost. At optimal cost. You need to learn the science of autopilot. How do you autopilot your task execution? Because most of these tasks, as you know, even if you're in a niche, and I usually get this question that I'm in a very niche area that only I can do. Only I can do that task. Let me tell you, there are 3 phases. First phase is that either you can increase your business or increase the volume of your business by focusing on the mass and volume, or you can focus if you're a niche service provider and you're clear with your niche, and you charge a premium for your clients. That is the next level where you perhaps are playing the premium game in terms of having your premium services where your time value is much higher, and you're not into the mass services, and you're rendering something which is a class, and you've got that depth in your whole understanding of the way the system works, and you're in that league. Much still better, I would say. The third stage is that of which many of such expert service providers maybe are not putting their efforts in inching towards, is how you can build that mass for that class offering or for that premium offering where you can multiply that premium offering to a mass audience. And that is the ultimate stage of your business journey where you're able to build that. So it is very much possible in all of it. At least you can automate to a great degree. And if you're a surgeon who does, say, a high precision surgery, then you can continue to do that, but you can delegate a lot because you're already a very high paid. However, you can build multiple things around it where you can perhaps build digital things around it. You can share your expertise. You can build products around your expertise, which can again scale. So there are multiple ways to do that. And again, the bonus strategy today will touch upon a bit of that, and let us look at that. So how do you shift from a volume or a high value? And this is what I was referring to. That how do you shift from a volume that on one hand you're focusing on the mass, on the other hand you build that expertise, you've had your niche that you've expertise over the years, and you're high value, you're paid high value today for your time. How do you convert all of this from a volume in a high value offering? And that's the ultimate transformation that you can create in terms of building that scale for your organization. How do you transform your customers into the biggest marketers? For most of us, we rendering quality services will make sure that our customers become our biggest marketers, and there is a whole science with which you do that. How to automate? How do you automate your lead generation and conversion cycles? Today, the entire thing could be automated in terms of your lead generation. Many times when we have sales development managers in our office and we give them the task of generating leads. Today, if you look at the automation that's out there, and it is a revolution that we are all part of, that lead generation is entirely automated. So how is it that you can build systems where your entire lead generation is automated? Again, you can also automate a great amount of conversion cycle for a never-ending business volume. How do you have systems of delegating and documentation where an even lesser skilled team, like today, if you're going out, there are two options for you. Either you engage the more skilled resources, or you engage mid-skilled or lesser skilled resources. And if you're able to produce the same amount of output or the same amount of expertise and execution, it can happen with execution. It can happen with design. It can happen with automation. So these are some facets that you have to start working towards in your profession to make sure that you are heading towards building a system. You are heading towards building a business which can sustain, which can give you that freedom of time, which can give you the option to choose what you wish to associate yourself or spend time with, and not a necessity or a need that you have to spend your time dealing with your clients, you have to spend time. So there must be a choice, and that freedom is an option that every one of us has, and it is a matter of being exercising and choosing to understanding, exercising, and then choosing to take those actions and transforming our businesses, which gives us the impetus, which gives us again the opportunity to add value, right? So again, the sole function we've seen of function of the business per se is to add and keep customers. The moment I show this slide, many of you may be thinking that customers, it's not just about customers and all of that. Please agree with me that in order to keep customers, in order to be able to have that chain of value, in order to be able to continue to add that value or keep your customers, how many of you agree that you have to shift your entire being and doing? The entire being has to shift. You have to function with integrity. You have to have a culture in your organization. You have to make sure that you're prioritizing the needs of your customers and your employees and your stakeholders much before you place your expectations, perhaps, right? Because at the end of the day, when you take care of your people, your customers, at the hindsight, as a byproduct, you get served with that opportunity or with that intention of you to be able to giving a lot more. I truly believe in a principle that raising somebody to rise is the only way. Raising somebody to rise is the only way out there. And there's enough science that I can take you through perhaps on another day. But adding and keeping your customers, if you were able to do this, or if you are to do this, you have to shift everything around you, around your business, in your being, doing, and becoming, and all that is around. You need to shift because ultimately, customers will make sure that you are continuously given the opportunity to add value, and you will thrive, and you will be able to scale. And the more you magnify your business, more is more you will have to deal with customers and adding in. And it is a journey of adding and keeping customers and constantly adding that value. Now, communicating, let's look at some of the magnification strategies as to how could you magnify your whole professional business practice. Now, this has application to other service professionals as well and other businesses as well. So I invite you to start making notes as to what do you wish to implement as you're hearing these things. So the first thing is communicating your inability of delivering on time or expected quality or expected cost of service delivery. Now, many a time I've found many service professional businesses where they do not communicate. The moment there is a lack of service or inability to deliver on time, immediately they go on the back foot and go with all their alibis or excuses, or perhaps have an internal discussion as to how we can hide this, as to how we can just cover it up, or how we can continue to hold that authority. With professionals, I being a professional for almost 15 years now and having worked with hundreds of business owners and professionals over the years, I found that there's a sense of pride that, okay, I cannot make mistake. As a professional, I should not be telling my mistakes, because the moment I share my mistakes, my market value or the pricing or the client will start negotiating on say my fees or any of those. But let me tell you, all those are old school, and it is very, very important as a professional to communicate your inability. The moment there is a lack of service, or it is human, and all clients understand that, and it only goes to show your and the entire trust or the faith your client has on your business, your brand will go manifold when you go to a customer and tell them that we apologize that we were not able to deliver on time as we had committed, but we are working on it. We are working on this, and and we will definitely make sure that we compensate this by giving you this extra, or we do put in this extra effort so that you can get benefited. There's always a way to deal with things, but very, very important that you have to communicate, and this has to become a culture in your organization. You can give the script. You can give the script again, systematizes, automated at every stage. You can give that script to your people as to how they will be able to do that, and in the most in a way which will help the organization whenever there is a lack of meeting on commitments or not delivering the expected quality. And obviously, there is a cost, and we have to be prepared for it, and we should accept, acknowledge, and that's the way to do it. Again, let's look at the next strategy, which is having service agreements or contracts with all your B2B customers, all your contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, partners, associates, employees. Very, very important. Many a times we ignore doing this. Many a time we do not spend in our contracts, our service agreements. Say, many a times your firms or your companies will be dealing with other associates, other consultants, and maybe everything is going good, and everything is going smooth, and you're able to have this pool of service providers to whom you're subcontracting, or maybe you are being subcontracted work. Very, very important, because every agreement will make sure that all the expectations, all the agreements, all the understanding, it's seal that you have understood the expectations clearly. It is an assurance. It is perhaps a certification or an agreement that we have understood each other well, and we are putting everything in writing, and things are not left to contingencies. Things are not left to be decided in multiple situations or circumstances. And as elaborate as possible, please engage the professionals to do that, and always get the best professionals to associate with, and make sure that you are having service agreements with all the people who are mentioned on the screen, and even otherwise anybody else that you're dealing with, even if it is, say, your vendors, perhaps your key vendors, or even your vendors who are providing you the photocopy equipment in your office. Make sure that you have written agreements. Your courier service providers, make sure on the pricing, on every facet or different clauses that you would address. But very, 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 very important, because there comes a stage when things do not go the way you want to. I'm sure a lot of you would have experienced such days where things don't go the way you want to. and you have nothing to rely on, or it all gets very dirty and very messy in terms of your relationship with people around you, and you can just avoid all that, right? So you can absolutely avoid all that by just making sure that you have grounded. Just moving on, next magnification strategy is we need to start operating out of the feast or famine scenario, right? So what do I mean by that? Now, most service professionals that I've come across are operating as they go look for customers. The moment they have a customer, they start working and servicing for this customer, and all of a sudden they realize that they do not have work anymore. And again, they go out looking for customers. And the moment, say, at that second attempt, they have multiple customers, and now they are busy in servicing both of those customers. And then a lot amount of time is has spent in the process, and then again there will be a point when there will be no work, and again they will go out and start looking for customers, and that is nothing but a feast or a famine scenario, where some days you have feast and other days you have famine. If you are a business who is operating in such cycles of a feast or a famine, a feast or a famine all the time, and what dreads me or what hurts me to see is that many service professionals of 10 years, 20 years, and they still continue to be in that cycle, still continue to be in that cycle of a feast or a famine every single time. And there's a desperation at times when there's no work, and then we again go out. So very, very important to have an ongoing scenario, which which I will explain with the help of a service marketing triangle. Now, if you see this company and this customer and there's employees, so you need to make sure that there is something ongoing at all times, something going which is an ongoing activity in your business all the time. So the first is enabling the promise with your employees. There needs to be a constant engagement with your employees in terms of recruitment. Recruitment is a daily process. Let me tell you, even if you don't want people, but as a good practice or as a standard good practice, you need to recruit, you need to be in the verge of recruitment, you need to keep looking for people every single day. Right now, it's the best time to get the best people are out there in the market because many of them have shrunk their businesses the best time. So recruitment is a daily process. What we tell all our service professionals that constantly look for people. You would never know where you would find the best replacement, the best resources, which will give you perhaps a whole new dimension of looking at business. You have to constantly, and that is part of the internal marketing, where you're constantly building your internal team. The next is that of an external marketing, where you're constantly enabling the promises with your customers. You're constantly enabling marketing, external marketing of adding and keeping customers all the time. Like right now, if I ask you, did you do that activity yesterday? The answer should be yes. There is some form of it is a daily habit. It is not a habit that we would do at one point in time when we do not have the work or when we want extra work. And this is the mistake which I find a lot of service professional businesses make is that it is very, very important to constantly enable this external marketing, and it is a daily activity, it is a daily habit. And third is to constantly delivering, to making sure that your employees are delivering the promises to your customers. Now this is a service marketing triangle, very, very important that we keep these activities ongoing as a system on a daily basis, on a daily basis. So moving on to strategy number 4, which is again focus on the enterprise value. Very, very important that we have to turn our practices, our professional individual practices, to a business which is measured by the lives being impacted and the brand value that is created. The lives being impacted. Now, enterprise value, you need to understand as to what is the valuation of your business today. What is the valuation of your business that you're looking at? You need to run it as a business. You need to manage it as a business and not as somebody who's just busy in satisfying their customers. Of course, customer satisfaction is a system which is of prime importance, but not as a business owner constantly engaging in that repetitive activity. So the lives being impacted and the brand value. Ultimately, you see a lot of large multinationals today whose brand is sustained, whose brands are much bigger than their individual self, than their individual professional delivery or professional reputation that they carry. The brands have become much bigger, and there is a huge enterprise value which is measured by in means of the lives being impacted, or in terms of the clients that you have, or the retainerships that you have or the customers that you have, and there's a whole science in arriving at the enterprise value. But I want you to start focusing on what is the value of your practice. So we need to start focusing on that. Again, building authority by marketing content. Now, this is something which we looked at the part where we discussed about soliciting business as a myth. Again, a lot of successful professionals are constantly building authority by marketing content. Now, today, for a buyer, for a service recipient, he cannot see your products as much as he can see goods that is being sold by a products company or a goods company. He cannot see services are intangible. So it's very, very important that you constantly build your authority and formulate an automated sales funnel. Today, you are not just meeting customers or prospects in person. Gone are those days where you would sit across a cup of coffee, you would continue to do that. However, gone are those days where that is the only medium. Today, there are multiple online platforms where there's engagement that's happening, where there's meeting that's happening. You can constantly get in touch with your prospects or your target audience in multiple different platforms. So right from the coffee table, it has moved on to multiple interaction platforms, technological platforms where you can engage and interact. So you need to constantly build that authority by marketing content, by making sure that prospects are experiencing your authority, experiencing the authority that you carry, and they get that certainty. They would buy from you if they have the certainty that you can deliver. You have the authority to deliver. So you have to constantly engage in marketing content in various forms, which we will look at going forward. Again, nurture. You need to be constantly nurturing prospects. Again, from cold, warm to hot. The moment there is an inquiry or you're required to send a proposal to a client or your client has a need, so maybe that's just a cold need, and from that cold need, you constantly have to add value. And there is science and multiple studies which say that you need to touch point in terms of adding value to a prospect, to a cold prospect, about 7 to 12 times for converting them into a hot client who will then buy your services and then continue to associate with you in the long term. So create multiple touch points which perhaps are not priced, and you are constantly adding value in terms of your content, in terms of your expertise, in terms of you sharing your authority on the subject matter, your depth on the subject matter, from to move clients from a cold prospect to a hot prospect. 7 to 10 touch points, constantly add value, build that whole journey of your customer, moving them from the cold to warm to hot, and constantly engage at multiple touch points and add that value. Again, own the answers to the questions in your market or industry. Again, it is a part of content marketing where you will own the answers to all the questions. Now, different service professions, different industries, different issues, different questions of those respective industries. But are you a service professional who has the answers, who owns the answers to the questions that are asked at multiple platforms that are usually repetitive questions that most of your clients face? I'm sure most of you would agree that if you have a client in a particular industry and if you move into another client in the same industry, a lot of their problems will be similar. And a lot of the problems are new. Are you the authority who owns the answer? Are you the authority who knows the answer to those questions, or who owns the answer to those questions with all the depth, and you would constantly invest in your own self to be able to have that authority, to content marketing and owning the answer. So investing in oneself, constant re-education will help you build that authority, will help you own the answers. And once you're perceived as somebody who owns the answers to the questions, then in your market and industry, then you automatically have a pool of prospects who see you as the authority, and they see your work, and they automatically wish to engage with you. Build and monitor a perennial customer feedback loop. We've seen that in terms of having a customer feedback loop. Now, many of us do not have a perennial customer feedback loop. Now, what do I mean by that? You need to have a periodicity set as part of your system where you will constantly take customer feedback. It is a loop which you have to constantly engage into. You need to constantly get customer feedback at different points, not just after the work is complete. And this is something that I always advise all my professionals, that do not make the feedback activity after the service is completed, but even during the course. During the course of the service, you need to make sure that you're constantly taking feedback, because then what you can do by doing that is, if something is not going as per plan or as per system, you can actually bring the client back, or bring the confidence of the client back, and make sure that the whole delivery is as per the expectation of the client. Again, something very, very important, to have a perennial customer feedback loop. Next strategy is avoiding the marketing wasteland with target clarity. Very, very important that many a times we engage in multiple marketing activities, or either on the social media or otherwise in the offline media, and without even having the understanding of our target market in terms of your audience, or in terms of your customer avatar. Now, what I want you to go back and do is look at your customer as to who your customer has been in the past, customers that you wish to work with, or the ideal avatar of your customer. The moment you have that, you need to find out mediums, or perhaps lands, or areas, or platforms, or associations, or chamber of commerce where those customer avatars are, and then direct your activities, direct your costs, direct your efforts onto those geographies or those markets. That is nothing but your exact understanding of your target market. If you have a clear understanding of your target market, it will save you a lot of effort in terms of time and money. So it is very, very important to have your avatar, have your customer avatar in place, in writing, with a lot of clarity. How do they look like? What kind of demographics, their gender, their marital status, and all those in terms of who they are, so that you can direct all your activities in those territories, in those domains, in those platforms, in those technologies, so that you can avoid the entire marketing wasteland. Always, always good to be a big fish in a small pond than to be a small fish in a big pond. So true with marketing to the target audience, and so true with building a niche than to be a multidisciplinary, right? So always good to be a big fish in a small pond any day, for scale, to add value, to have that clarity in terms of your target audience, right? So again, thank you for staying so far. The bonus strategy, the two bonus strategies are coming on. This is the last strategy that we will discuss. Last but not the least, show your work and proof of trust. The more you're able to do this in terms of showing your work at multiple platforms, you will be, and showing the proof of trust by having testimonials, having proof of customers who have experienced your service and have had tangible results. The more you're able to show your work and proof of trust, the more authority that you're able to create in the marketplace, and the more opportunity that you get to add that extra value. If you're good, you deserve to do a lot more. The bitter truth is, today the market is not for the best. The market is not for the best. And I want you to make a note of this. You may be the best, but success will come to the best known, like it or not like it. But that is the bitter truth, or the sweet truth, or however you may take it. That it does not enough. It is not enough if you are the best. You have to be the best known for you to be able to add value. And I'm not emphasizing. I don't want to emphasize, more about sales and marketing, because despite the fact that, and many professionals, senior professionals, treat this as a taboo, but I have a very simple answer to all of them, that if you're good and if you're able to create that value in the marketplace, you deserve to magnify that value. You deserve, it's your duty, and because that could be your mission in terms of magnifying that value. And if you work with that core of discipline, of honesty, sincerity, commitment, integrity, then you deserve to do a lot more. So very, very important for some of you who have code of ethics which restrict you from showcasing who your clients are. It's important to present a lot of case studies in terms of what your clients have gone through in terms of your services, without again naming the clients and without showcasing who those clients are. Because I'm aware that there are many professionals who have this restriction from their respective bodies in terms of showcasing as to who their clients are. Still, you can continue to do a lot of case studies in terms of how you could take, or the journeys of how you could take your clients from wherever they were at and where they wanted to, and how you could build that gap for them. So again, thank you so much for staying so far. Let me share with you, for all those who have stayed so far, here are my bonus strategies, my 2 bonus strategies. The first bonus strategy is productize your service. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, we are rendering something which is an intangible. But how can you productize your service? And if you're able to do that with all that I've shown you on the screen, and there could be many more in terms of you building your digital products. And this is where you would defy or move away from the initial characteristic that we had seen, that from being an intangible, from being an inseparable, you can, in fact, you will see that you will start storing the services. In fact, if you've created digital products, and what you have actually done is you have those products, which are there with you, which can be sold multiple number of times at no cost, ladies and gentlemen. Books, again, you would find many successful professionals you would find in your fraternity who've written books. Now, you can ask yourself as to why. And why is it that many times you find them to address many association, trade bodies, and chamber of commerce, and they would take multiple positions in different associations, authority positions, or key positions in those associations. If you look at, ultimately, all of that is giving them an opportunity to serve to a much larger audience. And as you serve to a much larger audience, as you magnify your impact, as you magnify your value, it gives them an opportunity to serve more, to say so. So if you have any of these opportunities, please go ahead and engage yourself, even if it means at the cost of your comfort zone. Please go ahead and do that. You could have newsletters, journals, periodicals, application tools. Many a times, you could build certain application tools and softwares and sell them and get that annual maintenance contracts or annual renewals. Subscription is a very good model where if you have the services and you could build a subscription model, say clients could reach out to you for opinions, for doubts, for discussions, and you could have a subscription or a retainership around that. You could in fact franchise your services. Perhaps you should start looking at your service business as a franchise, as if you were to franchise. Because when you will start doing that, when you will start looking at something where tomorrow, if anybody is running the show is able to scale and sustain, then you will start looking at it to build it without you. And when you are able to do that, then you will start scaling your business, because then you will put in all that is required, all the ingredients that are required to build scale. And again, franchising is a very good opportunity and an option that you could think of in taking their services. And coming to the next bonus, how many of you are ready for the next bonus? Right? Let's move on to the next bonus strategy that I want to give you from a lot of successful service professionals or professional service business owners is, again, focus on building a legacy business. How can you do that? What do I mean by that is you need to start planning for the future from the start. Plan for the future from the start. Create a succession plan. Inform your successes early. Look beyond, not always to your family tree, but look beyond the family tree. Let your businesses live on, because only then you would have created something which has a much longer value in terms of transforming our communities, in terms of creating those ecosystems, creating those opportunities for many other stakeholders around your business. So always focus on building a legacy business, and not a business perhaps which has an end with just your own self, right? So with that, we come to almost the end of our session today. Again, delay in taking massive action despite having the knowledge. Delay. And I want you to really be, perhaps you could close your eyes and just listen to this, that delay in taking massive action despite having the knowledge is why we are where we are. Right? So never stop the journey of re-educating, reinventing, and recreating yourself. Re-education could be a journey which leads to reinventing yourself and then recreating your whole business. So I would invite you all to connect with me on multiple different platforms where I share a lot of tools, templates, a lot of techniques, strategies in terms to give you that joy, abundance, manifest, and whatever you wish to manifest in terms of having a business that grows beyond you. And for you to be able, I'm on a mission to be able to transforming the lives of 100,000 business owners, take them through this journey of design, automation, and acceleration, so that they can manifest joy, purpose, and abundance in their lives. I want to thank Excellent Excel for giving me this opportunity to be able to add some value if I have, and if even one of you can bring about some shifts in your businesses, I would feel the purpose of my existence getting closer, or I getting closer to my mission, or I getting closer to the purpose of my existence. So thank you so much for being there, for staying so far. I hope I could be of some value in bringing about the shifts in your perspective, and I wish you all a value, immense abundance, and I wish you that you're able to manifest all that your potential is. Thank you very much. If there are
Uh,
questions, I'm free to take them.
Thank you, Amit bhai. Thank you. Yes, there are questions. Thank you for your energy and thank you for sharing so much of wisdom. I definitely had learned something over here to manage my time to manage my task and etc. Definitely, it is adding value to me, and definitely I'll try to implement something immediately after the session.
Thank you very
Can we
much.
take up some question now, Amit bhai?
Sure.
There's a question by Mr. Mohit. He wants to understand how do we estimate a value for the service we provide, because we said do not do the pricing on cost plus some method.
Right.
So how do we differentiate? I mean, how do we value the service based on the value? And he's asking, can we have a differential pricing between clients? Will it not create a problem?
Beautiful. Now, when you have to arrive at the value for the service that you're offering, now, there's a whole science to do that, but I would want you to always understand the perceived value that you are going to create for your client. Now, when you say perceived value, at all possible times, you should have benchmarks, parameters, measurement tools for you to be able. Now, there will be two types of benefits for most of your clients. They will be in terms of the quantitative benefits and in terms of the qualitative benefits for your clients. But you need to start building tools for you to be able to monitor the quantitative and the qualitative benefits for your clients. Let me give you an example. Now, many a times we do business coaching, and we have an internal mechanism to monitor a system to monitor the kind of value, both in terms of tangible results that we are able to produce for client, and also in terms of many psychometric assessments that we carry out in terms of the client, the peace of mind and many other parameters, for a business owner that we carry out to measure in terms of the improvement or the shift that we've been able to bring about in terms of the qualitative benefits that for the client. And many a times, right, upfront, you may be not in a position to understand what kind of benefit that you are going to create for your client, but over a period of time, you would have several benchmarks that will allow you to have those parameters based on which, like today, we know for sure that if we are going to charge an X amount to our clients, we know the kind of value that we will deliver. And obviously, there's a whole science in terms of you also benchmarking it with what is out there, in the market. But those are again parameters or just the benchmarks. Nothing takes you away from the value that you will create, and you need to start building tools in terms of understanding the qualitative and quantitative benefits that you are going to impact the client. And over a period of time, I'm sure you will start to set benchmarks or standards in your own organization to do that. Because if you're just driven by what your competitor is charging and you're continuing to charge that, first of all, you are not adding any incremental value to your client. And if you're just going to, if he's doing GST returns and if you're doing GST returns and you're not creating any further value, today there are professionals who are doing GST returns at a price which is not even worth mentioning. And if you take that as a benchmark and if you compete that with what you are going to offer, and if you think that if he's offering that and if that is something that you wish to also price, then that is not how you want to go ahead with things. You wish to create your value proposition in terms of what you bring to the, and it is also up to you to educate that to the client. Here it is very very important that despite the fact that there is a value proposition which is much beyond that competitor, but unless you educate the client, and education plays a very very vital role here, unless you're going to educate in terms of the value that you're going to create or value or the perceived value that the client can expect or the promise that you're delivering, you will not be able to command that price. So it's very, very important for you to set internal benchmarks for your qualitative and quantitative value that you are creating for your clients. and also have a system of educating your clients and showcase the benefits that the clients will experience in terms of qualitative and quantitative impacts that will help you to command that value, in the market.
In the pricing, should we include element of our research cost, or it should be our investment more?
Now, definitely you are going to be present of your cost involved in rendering those services. You are going to have financial systems that give you those costs. In fact, thank you for bringing that question up, because I just wanted to share something, that we have experienced over the last several years, that many professional services business do not have the benchmark of what is the time value, what is the time or the cost per hour of their entire firm, and the billing per hour of the entire firm or the company or your enterprise or your as a whole for the entire year. And you, before engaging or hiring somebody else, you need to impact, or you need to factor in the incremental cost vis-a-vis the billing, and your billing per man hour, how is it getting impacted. So when you're doing the costing, perhaps you would take into account all the possible costs. Definitely research, because innovation, we've already put that as a system. You need to build in all the cost and not just your manpower cost. And but that is a benchmark. That is a benchmark below which, perhaps, if you are still rendering services below that benchmark of that cost, after taking into account all of that, just because your competitor is selling it at that price, if you continue, or if you think that you have to sustain that, if you do not offer that price, you will not be able to sustain. If that is the mindset that you carry, let me tell you, you are not doing value selling. You are not adding any value to the whole ecosystem. You're not educating your customer about the value that you are bringing to the table. We know as professionals that it is just not possible for somebody to deliver the kind of quality or the perceived value, or with all that research that you're talking about, if you have to render quality service, then again, making sure that you have internal benchmarks for the quality that you are rendering, for the perceived value that you are giving to your customers, and at the same time, you need to have a system for education. So yes, to answer the question on research cost, you will take into account all the possible costs as a benchmark, and then start building. Again, that has nothing to do with the value that you're creating. Your billing ultimately, at the end of the day, has to be based on the value that you are creating, and it has a lot to do with educating your customers.
One last question. How should an entrepreneur open up his mind for partnership, or even to grow, or even to add resources at a partnership level? From being a sole proprietor to a partnership firm, how should he open? Because they feel, this is a question by Miss Nidhi. She feels there's a fear of losing clients, or so how should she open up and start this conversation with the other entrepreneurs?
Again, thank you for that question. I think it's a very relevant question, because most small and medium business enterprises now, they always, with all their experiences and all the stigma that is around.
Amit, could you be a little louder?
Yeah, sure. Is it audible now?
Yeah.
So the stigma that is around partnerships, and you might have heard, or you might have had multiple other experiences of your own or others around you, that partnership firms, you lose your authority and all of those, and you will not have the freedom to scale. And so I, over the period of almost 15 years, have come across hundreds of other partnership firms in terms of how they are. Many extremely successful, but majority of them are very small partnership firms, and even in those small partnership firms, they find it very hard to scale their businesses. And I, at this point in time, of course, there's a whole science in terms of how you should engage or get into a partnership. But let me tell you two most important things. One is to have a clear understanding of expectations from either side. A very clear understanding of expectations. You need to just spend a lot of time. Just before you're getting married, just imagine if you do not spend that time in understanding the expectations, right? Of course, a lot can happen, right? When you do not understand the expectations clearly. So if you have partnerships, and I'm a firm believer of leverage, you have to collaborate, you have to leverage, and 1 plus 1 is 11 in my dictionary. And that is how I've seen things grow in the past as well. However, two most important things. One is that you need to have your expectations set out very, very clearly, And you need to spend a lot of time in understanding different scenarios, understanding different possibilities, different contingencies, and make sure that you put everything in writing and all of that. And second thing is, many times what happens in partnership firms is one of the partners is doing extremely well, and every other partner is sharing the whole effort of one partner, and that is a fear which a lot of us carry, right? If what if I am successful or I am putting in all the efforts and other are just enjoying the whole pie? This is a fear which engrosses most people who get into partnerships. I'm sure you would agree with that. Now, that fear which is there, the only way out of that fear is, again, set your expectations very, very clearly. If you're going to handle a particular domain, or if you're somebody who's putting in all the efforts, you need to have systems, accountabilities, you need to have proper MIS reporting with regard to what is the profitability that you are bringing, what is the profitability that they are bringing, and what is the pool that we are all sharing. Again, it is all about over communicating. You need to over communicate. And again, I would sincerely advise you to get into models which help you. If you are putting in the effort, you definitely have to be rewarded for that incremental effort or that profit share. The reward or the profit share must be commensurating the effort. So get into those kind of models. Please have communications, please have discussions around these areas, that if today, if I'm going to handle this domain or this vertical or this particular stream of vertical in our organization, and if I'm putting in all the efforts and if this is scaling up, how does it pair with the overall profitability? Obviously, I am a firm believer that if you are excelling or putting in the extra effort or investing in a lot on yourself and trying to build that skill necessary so that you can also leverage on the other partners, you need to have discussions around these areas, have a clear roadmap, have everything in writing, make sure that these things are discussed much before or even before you get into the partnership. Even if you're getting into a partnership with a much senior organization or an organization which has been there in existence, my sincere, humble recommendation is, please discuss these things upfront, because anybody who's sitting at the helm of affairs, if he has all the wisdom, he will love to answer these questions, give you those insights, give you those directions, give you those roadmaps, and they will chalk the path for you, and also make sure that all your fears are discussed openly, and you have communicated all the fears, and you have communicated and you have resolved all of those things before you get into the partnership firm. Do not get into the haste of just getting in because of the reputation or the brand, or ultimately what matters is if you are compensated for the effort, and there is a win-win. There is a win-win for everybody in the partnership firm, and you need to make sure that you're able to hone yourself in terms of understanding, over communicating, making sure that your efforts are commensurating the returns that you're getting. And again, partnerships are also about building it together, building the synergies, and many a times you always raise somebody to rise your own self. You need to look at collectively, even if it means that you give up a small percentage of your profit share, ultimately the enterprise value or the valuation, or in terms of what you get as a share in the overall pie, the growth, the valuation, the enterprise value are bigger things that you need to look at.
Thank you, Amit bhai. We'll just Neha.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
In Excel, thank you for sharing your inputs to us and our audience. I'm sure the participants will feel enriched with your knowledge sharing. I also thank the audience for your support and participation and taking your time out to attend the session. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and also share among your friends and colleagues. A few announcements to our participants. Our upcoming sessions are as follows. The next week, that is July 4th, we have a session with CA Sandeep Kothari on the topic modeling a franchise business opportunity. And then followed by Sunday, that is 5th July, we have a session with CA Shweta Kochar on managing business continuity and finance during uncertain times. The next session is on 9th July, that is with CA Dungar Chand Jain and by CA Jay Chairao. Thank you all. We are also keen to know your inputs, topics, suggestions for future sessions. You can drop your suggestions in the comment box. Stay connected and tuned for more upcoming Fresh Talks. Happy Sunday. Thank you all.
Thank you, Amit bhai. Thank you. Thank you, team.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.